Welcome to Doug Does Stuff. I'm Doug and I have a problem. And no, it's not the rays of light coming off of my overhead lights, which I will take care of soon. I have a filament problem, and it's actually not all of this filament in front of you, even though that is a problem. It's over here. It's with the filament on my Anycubic Kobra X. And the problem is my print quality has been going downhill over the past 2 months. Now, I've been printing pretty much PETG exclusively on this machine, and I've been printing the same model over and over, and I've been seeing that there is a glossy finish, a matte finish, there's bubbles or blobs in the print, there's lots of stringing starting to show up. And the only thing that has changed has been time of these spools out in the open. Now listen, I'm busy, it's summertime, I've got a new position at work coming up, I've got classes, I've got the firehouse, I've got other things. I just can't print this filament fast enough to stop it from stringing, so I need to do something. And sure, I could take it off each time and store it somewhere. I could print those boxes that you've seen on Maker Online that somebody designed for this, which is really cool and not a bad idea. But at the same time, as I was going through this, Jayo reached out and asked if I wanted to try their FilaDryer. Now listen, yes, stop. Per channel policy up front, stick with me. Jayo did send over the FilaDryer for me to try out and tell you all about, and that's what we're gonna do today at the very beginning, but that is not the whole video. I actually also went out and I bought 3 more boxes, dry boxes, to use with this system, because I think it's going to go and work in my workflow really well. And I think it might work for you, especially if you have an Anycubic Kobra X, but it might also work for other printers. Now, I know you're saying, Doug, you just did a DIY filament dry box solution. Yeah, you're right, 100%. And it works great. But the amount of time it took to dial in those settings, get things printed, put it together. I was printing in ABS or ASA, and it took a lot, and there was a lot of parts to buy, and I just frankly didn't have the time to do it. I needed something quick and easy that I could use on my Anycubic X, and that's what we're going to do today. So first things first, let's get this cleared off. Let's get the FilaDryer on here. That's going to be the first thing. We're going to unbox it. We're going to break it down. And then we're just going to jump into how you might be able to use this with this to make that better. Let's go. Made some room here and we're ready to unbox this thing. So let's open it up, see what's in the box, talk about it, and go from there. So this is a dryer, if you don't know, to dry your filament. What comes in this box is going to be one storage, excuse me, one storage unit, there's the dog, and one heater core. Ah, yes, whew, got a little nervous there, I didn't see it. All right, so you're going to open up the top, which is kind of nice gasket around it, which is great to keep in any of the moisture, or the moisture out, the dryness in. As we take this out, we got a couple Bowden tubes, we got our plug, we got our silica holder with a humidity readout. Now, let's see what else is in here. Oh, so this is the storage box. It is, I'm just referring to some notes, 99 millimeters wide. Yeah, so it's going to fit most of your spools. There is a little bit of assembly to do here, so we're going to do that here in a second. Here is the dryer. The dryer is a single unit dryer, and at the bottom of the box you have your 2 plugs. You pull these out, set it on, dry and go. All right, put it together. Pretty straightforward. Just put those on. And then you're going to reach down inside, and that's it. They just sit right in there. All right, so once you have them in, just give them a little push. They should seat right in, and they do. And now when you have a roll of filament, give me an open one here. Sits right in there, and it sits on those. Other than that, we have our silica. We have the battery thing to pull out. Pull that out. It's going to give us our readout on the front. You pop this open. Wow. So I don't know if you saw that. You pull out on this and you just got to run your fingernail in there and you pop it open. Now, you could use the silica that comes with it. I, on the other hand, I'm going to use my go-to, my dry orange indicating silica that is rechargeable. So just fill this bad boy up. Careful not to get it everywhere. All right, we're going to call that enough. Once you have that, we're going to do one more. Perfect. Clip this back on. All right. Take this, and it's got a little window, just so you know which side it goes on. Put this in there nice and easy. Look at that. 51% humidity currently in my basement. Get my dry covered so it doesn't start drying everything else around here. Get that out of the way. Now it's time to put some filament in here, and there's two ways to do it. You can either rest it on the rollers on the bottom, or you can rest it on here. Now it says in the book that if you're using a cardboard spool, it goes on here. So I would assume if it's not a cardboard spool, it can go on the bottom, but you can use this for either one. So I'm going to dry a roll of PETG that I was not very nice to. I took this roll of Jayo PETG and I left it outside in a covered porch for close to 48 hours on some of the most humid and absolutely pouring rain days that we've had here in quite some time. And it definitely absorbed some, some moisture, because my prints went from looking like this with a little bit of stringing to prints looking like this with a significant amount of stringing and other layer issues. But what I want to do here is I'm going to weigh this. So we are coming in at 1211. Write that down, 1211 before the dryer. Now we are going to stick this in, and I'm going to use the little catch here to hold it up in the air, just because I'm thinking maybe we get a little more air filtration. What you do is you just line it up. What you do, line it up, and slide it down. Pretty easy. Next, you want to put your top on. That goes towards the front. Cool. You're going to take off your bottoms. You're going to bring it over here to the dryer, and you're going to place it on top. Hey, that's pretty simple. Next, we're going to plug it in. We now have our storage box on top of our dryer. And a couple quick things about the dryer. It's a 150 watt PTC heating system that goes up to 70 degrees, 35 to 70, which actually I think is a little higher ceiling than some of the other ones out there. And it has this is what's nice, it has a built-in fan to circulate the air, just so you're not just baking it, like just the bottom. It's circulating around, combined with the desiccant in there. It should be pulling out, hopefully, a lot of moisture. What else about it? Oh, it has a thermal cutoff. In case something goes wrong, it should shut down on you. And I can tell you, you should always wash it. Try not to leave it unattended if you can help it. We have the silicone plugs for the bottom when we're done. And according to Jayo, for 21 days, it will hold plus or minus 5 degrees. So let's get this on here. Let's turn this on, and let's bring you around where you can see the front of this in action. All right, so if you turn on your machine on the back and it's not on, just come in and hit a button. All right, let's go through the possible presets in here. You have PLA, PETG, TPU, ABS, PA, PC, and back to PLA, but we're working with PETG, so we're going to go to that preset. If I hold down the plus button, it's going to give me the temperature, and I can change that if I wanted to by hitting the plus or the minus. We're going to leave it at 55. It's going to go back. If we hold down the minus button, it's going to come to the time, and we can add time or subtract time if we want. Let it go. And now it's going to get started. It's going to rotate through these every 3 seconds. You have your internal temperature, 49 degrees, your time, and then the material or the preset that you're using, which is PETG for me. All right. So now here is the whole machine going. We have our relative humidity of 41% is where we're starting. We have 6 hours to go. 6 hours later, and the machine just shuts off when it's done. And that's what it just did. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop this open. Let's get this filament out of here and let's weigh what it is. So before we put it in, it was at 1211, and now 12:0. It's bouncing between 8 and 9. So let's say 1209, we lost 2 grams of moisture. Cool. Now, here's the thing. Once you're done drying it, what you want to do is take it off, and you have to put in these silicone stoppers at the, not silicone, these plastic stoppers with the silicone gasket at the bottom. They don't fit as tightly as the top does. This is on tight. These, not so much, but hey, listen, there we go. We are down to 10% humidity in there. All right, so off camera, I put together another one, and we're going to put in the TPU that I left outside and see, let's weigh it, 1243, 1,243 grams. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to let it run overnight and dry and see where it goes. Okay, TPU has been drying overnight, or it's dried for 6 hours. I just woke up, and then it's been sitting in here. We're going to take it out. We're going to weigh it really quick. Our scale is zeroed out. We were at 1243 6 hours later. We are at 1239. So that means we took out 4 grams of moisture out of our TPU. That's a lot of moisture. I mean, I thought 2 grams was a lot. 4 grams is even more, obviously, because of math, right? Anyway, we're going to cover this up, and we're going to remember to put our plugs in the bottom, seal in that dryness, seal out the humidity of my basement. And now what we have here are 2 more rolls that I put in last night with some dry silica. I didn't dry these on the dryer yet because I was doing the TPU. And then we have our PETG and our TPU. We're going to move on to the next step here, which is getting this over here with the Kobra X and seeing how this is going to help our workflow and storage long-term of printed PETG. So let's go. All right, so we have our dry boxes over here next to our Kobra X. I haven't undone anything because I want to show you what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull off this little star thing that holds all of my filament together, and then I'm going to remove it from up here. Now, all right, so with our tubes undone, we are going to separate this out into channels 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 over here. Now, with these dry boxes, you can either feed the filament out the front or out the top. I'm going to feed it out the top for our purpose today. And to do that, we need to take the filament out, send it up through the tube, close it back up. Where are my snippers? Snip off a little bit here just to keep it straight. And I'm going to call this one number No, this is number 4. Haha, the way it's labeled. I just got to remember that. All right, so pulling this out, turn my Kobra on, and then we're just going to run it all the way up until I see it just about to come in there. I'm going to get this set for the next 4, so let me do that. By getting this set up here, a couple things we want to take notice of. The way it is unwinding, I have it currently coming out from underneath because I want it to go straight up into the tube. Had I had it going this way over the top, it would have to go up like that and be pulling up. I would think if you're coming out the front, you're going to want it to go that way. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to make sure everything is coming out the correct way, which it is here. So let's get this one loaded. There it is. All right, we're good. Now I'm going to push this back in, and you're just going to push down on your tubing, and you can see, if you look in there, you can see it coming through the inside, and now that's all good. I'm going to go through. I'm going to do the same thing with these two. This one over here is actually TPU. Almost made a mistake there. So I'm going to put back in number 3, just so it's out of the way, and get those set up. What's happening is this is giving me a problem, and I looked, and I thought I had it in the right way, and I actually didn't. I had it coming off the top, and it's giving me that weird angle. So I got to take this one out, and I just got to flip it. Now we shouldn't have a problem. Nah, perfect, all good. Okay, these are all set up now. Again, I'm leaving this one open. You could always put another thing up here, have these two here, maybe 2 PETGs and 2 PLAs, or whatever way you want it to go. These are all sitting at about 10% humidity, and I'm going to load up a model, fire it off, and see if it prints any better from the green. Let's do it. All right, so we're going to move on to testing the TPU now that it's been dried. So I set up the dryer along with the 90A Jayo white TPU, and I'm going to dry while I print on my Anycubic Kobra 3V2. I used one of the Bowden tubes from the Jayo boxes to connect it down. I used Magic Glue on the plate because that makes TPU come off a little bit easier. This is all set up. I'm going to reprint one of the prints we already did and see if we can get it to print better. So let's go fire it off and come back in 2 hours and see how it looks. So I've printed a couple times here on the Anycubic X with the green PETG that was pretty horrendous looking at it over here. We started with just straight out of the package having some stringing on there. It wasn't too bad. It was really up here on the retractions. We also, after subjecting it to being outside and absorbing a ton of moisture, it got significantly worse. After drying it for 6 hours, taking out 2 grams of moisture, I was able to print, I printed the wrong model, but I printed this model first, which is not the same as the ones that I already printed, and it came out really nice. There wasn't a string on it. There wasn't a retraction problem. This is the one that just finished on the Kobra X. There we go. Pull that off the plate. And this came out so much better after drying it. There is not a string across anywhere. I haven't touched it. There's a slight retraction problem, if you can see it right there. But I was able to print all the way up to 80 and 75 on the overhangs really nicely. The bridging was great without issues. It printed really nice. I had also printed prior TPU stuff. I printed this Veroni donut, and you could see the stringing in this. After drying the TPU and taking out 4 grams of moisture, which is a significant amount. And I also printed one of these, but my son took it upstairs. So pull that off there. Did you see how easy that came off? That's because I put glue down. Peel off the bottom here. Maybe not. Let's leave it. There is, coming in close here, there is still stringing on here. And where there's no supports, it didn't print great, but otherwise, up top, it printed pretty good. TPU is just hard to print. 90A TPU, which is this really soft stuff, is even harder to print. So I haven't done anything on settings-wise. I just kind of hit TPU and sent it. So I'm sure I can make it a little bit better. But otherwise, I mean, it came out pretty good. And that's when I printed right from the Drybox. Okay, so those are the prints and how they printed before and after. There's definitely a difference there. Very happy, with that, taking out the moisture and seeing it in action. This has been a long video. Let's get to the outro. Let's get to my thoughts on this system and go from there. Okay, so I just went in, I took this off my Kobra 3 V2 just to get here and do the outro and give you my final thoughts on the Jayo FilaDryer J1. I think it's great. I think it does what it's supposed to. It dries filament, as we saw. We took out 4 grams of moisture out of the TPU, 2 grams of moisture out of the PETG, and there was a definite increase in print quality after doing that. So drying filament is important, and for some filaments it's more important than others. PLA, yeah, not as much maybe as PETG, TPU, or some of the other ones. And this can handle it. You have all the presets in here, which I like. You can actively dry and print at the same time, which is nice. You can feed it through the front or the top. They're stackable. It's really, a great system if you need a drying system. A couple things I just do want to point out that I didn't really like. On here, these down here, they just come out super easy. I don't know what the long-term storage is going to be in this and how long it's going to hold at 10% humidity. So we'll see what happens in about a month. The other thing in here that I find difficult is when you're done, you got to open it up and roll back your filament and then put the plug in so that you don't have filament hanging out in the open and letting moisture in. Take this out of here for now. Also, what I like is that there's a place for desiccant in here. What I don't like is that it's very difficult to fill, and I know that when I go to change this and I go to open this, this is going to go everywhere. So I'm going to have to make sure I do it in a bucket so I can contain those silica beads. But big deal, not really. Would be nice that if there was a way to funnel it or something else. I am going to store, and this is one of the things I do like about it, I am going to store my filament in here, especially my TPU, long term, because I always forget to put that in there. Keeping TPU dry is incredibly important, and I like the ability to print right from here. I think that's awesome, especially talking over here on the Kobra X, where you can pull from 4 different dry boxes at once because the toolhead does all the work. I think this is a home run if you can afford to get into it. I think it's a home run for the Kobra X system to print some of those filaments that you need to stay dry if you're not printing non-stop. I did want to touch on, because I know somebody's going to say, hey, Doug, you did have your dry box that you did, and I mentioned it early on. Yeah, I made this one. It's been holding 10% humidity for more than a month. It's great. I do like it, but it took a lot to get this. You got to order the parts, which means you got to order more. You can't just order 4 bearings. I had to do all the printing, which honestly, There's a lot of failed prints in there to get this right. So time and effort with this, while the cost is low, I think this was like $10 versus these are $25 to $30. Time, effort, money, right now, that for me is the way to go. A couple things on here I do like. I do want to point out they have this little plug in here that you can stick the filament in and then put it in, and you can pull it in and out without having to open it. And I do like that the stacking has a nice secure ring. I wish that the Jayo boxes had this little nesting ring in it. But other than that, either one is going to be a good way to go if you need it. If you got the time, you like to DIY and tinker like I do, go ahead and print some of these up. If you're really busy like I am right now, this is definitely worth the investment. Right now on Amazon, the dryer in a box, I think was $45. This is July 10th. I think it's a sale, so it goes up and down. It's usually more than that. But for $45, you're getting a dryer and a storage box. Get a couple more boxes, and you're good to go. I want to say thank you to Jayo for sending this over for me to try out and tell you all about it. I greatly appreciate it. I do think this is worth it, which is why I bought those 3 boxes. And I want to thank you all for being here and watching. I know it's a long video, but I like to, give you my full in-depth thoughts on everything I say. So, hey, one more thing before we get out of here. Remember, go out there and do good things.